Oh, landmines and jellyfish. Welcome back to Knives, I guess. And I know this is like the third time, but I out pizzaed the hut again. I need one of you guys to hide me for a few days. Randy, I'm looking at you. But while we wait to find out whether or not I got somewhere to hide, we're going to take a look at the Masalong Kni245. So in one of my live streams a couple, 3 weeks ago now, one of our guys dropped in and said, "Hey, titanium knife for $9.99." And I went and looked at it, and it said titanium in the header right there, and $9.99, but the retail was $29.99, so it made sense. I've gotten titanium for $27.35. I figured, okay, cool. Turns out this ain't titanium. It is titanium plated steel, and so like everybody was kind of bummed about that was looking at it, but it's $9.99. It's not the end of the world. So I went ahead and it showed up, and I went ahead and carried it instead of sending it back because $10 knife. Like, this channel has evolved into trying to find diamonds in the rough, those really, really crazy good cheap knives. And I looked at what all we had here is like, maybe. So let's take a look at what we got. You've got your pocket clip, and most importantly, it's tip up, which is the Lord's carry. It is not the deepest carry in the world, I will give it that much. But we got a flipper tab. Let's flick the bean. And we got a liner lock. And this thing is a 7CR17 blade. It is a 2.95-inch blade. And yeah, this Masalong is kind of an interesting case. I'm not going to lie. So, like, I like the blade, all right? It's got a full flat grind. It goes into your basic drop point. Like, this is probably one of the best everyday carry blade shapes and grinds, in my own opinion. Everybody has different opinions on it, but this is the kind of thing that I like for, a normal-sized EDC knife. And it's not like I really have to have the full flat. It's not like I'm doing heavy work with these things at work. But, this is the kind of grind that I like. And, the steel on the frame and this frame lock ergonomically feel pretty good. You got some really soft jimping on the liner lock right here. It feels pretty good in the hand. It's got enough size to where I've got a full 4 fingers, and there's a little bit hanging off the dingus end here. So, like, there's a lot that went right with it. But the biggest thing that takes away from this is this pocket clip. Like, this is it's a badly executed pocket clip. The dingus end right here of the clip, like, it sits so flat that it is nearly impossible to get it over the waistband, and I can't even imagine the hem of a pocket. Like, you'd really have to take this thing off and loosen it a little bit and curl this tip up some, and then you'd have a decent carry. Now, aside from all that, it did pretty well. The factory edge is so-so. I give it maybe 7 out of 10. It's fairly sharp, but I threw it at the plastic wrap on the pallet, and through the middle it did okay, and on that last single layer at the bottom, even with it being pulled tight, I could feel it pulling as I cut. For a $10 knife, more than acceptable. Like, more than acceptable at the price point. And let's take a look at what we got. It's seen very light use, so it's still pretty much on the factory edge out of the box, but you can kind of see it's not the cleanest cut on the planet. I think I may have pulled a better opinion when I first got it out of the box, but that's kind of a raggedy cut, and it's rolled over a little bit. So that's what I'm saying. Like, the factory edge, so-so, for a $10 knife, it's okay. And it's the bearings on it. I believe it's on bearings, but the pivot's tightened really, really tight. And I could loosen this up and probably get the action freed up a little bit, but this is how it came from the factory straight out of the box. And, it's been breaking in a little bit, but you can kind of feel some rough spots while you're opening and closing it. It feels like the bearings are just squished way too tight in there. And, I'm carrying this for review from the box. So I would have loosened it up some and made it feel a bit better, but that's not how it came from the box. It's not a deal breaker. I mean, the flipper tab still works great. The detent's pretty strong on it, so it definitely retains it very well. And when you do flick it, it's got some authority. Let's flick the bean. It opens with some authority, and it kind of overcomes how tight the bearings are. This is a lot better than having a knife with a weak detent that only opens about that far when you really slam on that flipper tab. So, it's a good thing on this. Like I said, loosen it up, lubricate it, all that, and it'll be working really smooth. And, it's just like everything about this is decent until you hit this pocket clip, and this pocket clip makes it so damn hard to carry. Like, that drove me up the damn wall. And by the way, the blade's centered pretty well. There's not really much trail off to either side. But that drove me insane. Like, I'm trying to get this back in the waistband after I make a cut, and I'm trying to be quick because I'm working, and I don't really want to give the impression that I'm standing around doing nothing. And, I'm having to, wiggle it down in there. I'm having to get a fingernail under it and lift a little bit. Like, it was a headache, and it's, it's frustrating because if this pocket clip was good and well designed, I'd say this gets some pretty decent marks. Now that being said, you can do a lot better for the same $10. All right, that Duratec liner lock knife, leagues better than this thing. The Harbor Freight Gordon knife, it's significantly better than this. You've got better options at that same price point. Now for me, if I would have picked this up for $7, I know it's not a huge difference, but that would have turned this into a stellar value for that $7. And it's just, honestly, it boils down to the action isn't as smooth. The edge from the factory isn't as sharp. The pocket clip's terrible. And, that's a real bummer because it has a lot going for it until you run into the wall of this pocket clip and just kind of the funky action and the factory edge. And, of course, your other blades you can get at $10 are like 8CR13, which is a little better than 7CR17. So yes, it is a decent knife for the price. I'd give this, the whole thing as a package, maybe 6.5 out of 10. And if I hadn't experienced the Gordon knife or the Duratec or some of the other really, really cheap stuff that we have that is actually really good, I'd give this much higher marks. If I didn't know more about what's out there, I'd give it much higher marks. It's, $10 knife that is, this decent, it's still decent. If you didn't have any other options, this would be okay. If the pocket clip was better, this would be a traveling knife. Right now, it is at best a toolbox knife or a shop knife, something like that. This is definitely an abuse and abandon case by a lot, but, it could still serve you quite well. If you're carrying it loose in your pocket, clip's not going to be a big deal. But I don't carry loose in my pocket, so the clip is a big deal. And, it's all right, but you could do better. You could really, really do better. Now, this thing is going in the box for the live streams because I do want to test out, this flat grind. I want to test out the edge. I want to test out the ergonomics, especially with the soft jimping on the liner lock. This should be good all the way around, I think. I've been wrong before, but I think this will be okay. I think. And this gap right here is also not crazy, and the edge isn't super sharp, so it should be doing all right. And of course, we haven't done 7CR17 yet, so it'll be interesting to compare it to 8CR and see if we get that 2.5 hours out of it. I am going to venture a guess 2 hours, but we'll see whenever the 20-sided die smiles upon us and picks this one out. So, I wanted to share the experience with this. I know there was a little bit of interest in seeing how it did from the guys that were in that one stream and saw it come in, so here we are. Real quick, a friend of mine, one of the best men that I know, is raising money for Make-A-Wish Georgia. I'm going to put a link in the description. He is doing this a full month every year, and now it's this month. And the link goes straight to Make-A-Wish Georgia. It doesn't enter either of our hands. It goes straight there. He's raised enough money to grant 3 wishes so far, and last year he hit something a little over $5,000, and I'd love for us to help him get way past that this time. So if you got a couple bucks you want to throw them in the hat, by all means, I'd be very, very grateful. But, just had to get that in there real quick. But all that being said, thanks for looking at my crap. Subscribers, you guys are still coming in, and we are getting so close to that 1,000 subscriber giveaway. So if this is your first time watching one of these, feel free to subscribe. You might win you a knife. We've got one of my favorite budget knives ever. We got 2 of the G10 build-it-yourself kits, so you can learn how the bits and pieces work together, and you get like a letter opener or a cool fidget toy. So, yeah. Comments, I love a little feedback. Let's flick the bean. Let me know what you think about this thing, especially stacking it up against other budget knives you have. Like, this is kind of an interesting and slightly disappointing case. So, yeah, let me know what you think. But all that being said, y'all have a nice day.